Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. My name is Caroline Sturgis, and I am an Assistant Chief Administrative Officer in the County Executive's Office. Before we begin with today's agenda, I want to remind the group of a few business matters. The Reimagining Public Safety Task Force is a public body and is subject to the Maryland Open Meeting Act. Today's meeting is being live streamed on Facebook and Montgomery County Cable. If you have questions or comments during the session today, you may type them into the chat box or raise your hand during the discussion portion of the agenda. This meeting, the chat notes, and any other information shared during the meeting tonight are public material and may be available under the Public Information Act. To minimize any disruption during the meeting, please keep yourself on mute unless you are speaking. With that, I will now turn it over to Mr. Mark Marrier to officially welcome and kick off the meeting.
Thank you so much, Caroline, and welcome to everyone. I'm Mark Maurer, one of the two co-chairs, along with my colleague Bernice Miratoon North, and welcome to the second full meeting of our task force. I know that a handful of you were not able to join us last month, and we will have an opportunity for you to introduce yourselves briefly. Let me just say before going over tonight's goals, it's somewhat sad and sobering that here we are meeting just a day after the charging decision has come down in the killing of Breonna Taylor in Kentucky, and you all know this, but once again we see how these issues of race and public safety and justice continue to be such an opening and a point of tension in our democratic society. And if nothing else, it just reaffirms the importance of what we are trying to do with this task force, that we hopefully have an opportunity to produce better public safety outcomes and also to challenge racial injustice, however it appears in our county and in the work we do. So we will forge ahead and do the best we can. I want to just briefly talk about what we see as the goals for the meeting tonight. As you know, we're working on a fast timeline for this task force. We are charged with providing a report to the county executive on January 18th that will contain our assessment of challenges and opportunities in the county and recommendations for changes in policies and practice that can promote better public safety outcomes and do that while promoting racial justice as well. We will be conducting much of the work of the task force through some subgroups. We will be forming 5 focus groups areas that you will hear about later in the meeting tonight, which will give us an opportunity to have each of us get into depth in different areas of expertise and interest that will help to spread ideas up to the full task force and lead to recommendations for change. As you know, our task force has 43 community members. We're aided by some 30 or so county staff who've been working quite a bit to help us get some grounding in current practices, current issues. You all received the 70-page report that the staff pulled together last week. I hope you've had a chance to read through that. Just a word on what that report does and does not try to do. The staff were asked to produce a report to basically give us some baseline data on what outcomes look like in the county today. So they were asked to give us an overview of operations, on budgeting, on policies, in different areas of law enforcement, public safety, and social services. They were specifically not asked to provide recommendations for change or reform. That's our job, but I think they provided us with a very good baseline for starting to have our conversations about these issues. I'd call your attention in particular, page 57 of the report lays out what I think is a very useful set of questions and issues for the task force to consider as we move forward. How to evaluate effectiveness in various operations of the county, how to address issues of racial, ethnic justice, and the like. So we want to use that as a starting point as well. So the bulk of the meeting tonight is going to be an opportunity for us to engage with the reporters who put these reports together. There are 5 focus areas we'll be looking at. In each section, we'll ask the lead from that section to give a brief 3 to 5 minute overview of their key findings and information that's included. Then we will have time for dialogue on each area. We'll do that by asking you to put your questions in through the chat box, and Caroline will be helping us to sort through and to pose the questions that come in. Once again, of course, this is an assessment and discussion. It could go on all evening, but our time is limited. We want to respect your commitment. So we will have to be very focused as best we can, and there will be plenty of time for follow-up on issues that are raised in the coming weeks and months as well. So thanks once again for being here. We look forward to a good evening, and let me turn this over now to my colleague, Bernice, too. You're muted.
Unmute myself. Thank you. Thank you, Mark, for that explanation of what we are set out to do for tonight. But before we get into the meat of the meeting, I wanted an opportunity to allow those that were not able to attend the last month's meeting to have an opportunity to introduce themselves. And I did get a short list of those who expressed that they were not able to attend and wanted a chance to introduce themselves to the community. And so I'm going to start with Bishop Paul Walker, whose name I do see on here. Bishop Walker, if you can introduce yourself, just a brief 30-second introduction, please.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Task Force, it's a pleasure to be here tonight. My name is Bishop Paul Walker, as you heard, founder and executive director of the HYOP program, which is an outreach program that focuses on public safety from the area of recidivism, and of course, a pre-release program. And we also impact the community through food insecurity, which is a way to get into the community, and then we teach these life skills. Part of my background that involves public safety also involves experience in actual policing, and it was a pleasure to receive this request from the county executive to try to be a part of this task force in an effort to address these real issues, especially on a day like today, which was mentioned before, a day after the unfortunate decision in reference to the killing of Breonna, and as well as the other issues that we are still yet facing. So I look forward to our work together, and any of my experience, I look forward to sharing with you all, being a part of this productive team. Thank you tonight.
Next, Elijah Wheeler. Elijah, I think you're still on mute if you are speaking. I can't tell. Elijah on the call? I see his... Elijah, if you could unmute yourself. There we go. There we go. I'm guilty of it too, so go ahead.
Thanks, Bernice.
Sure.
Good evening, everyone. Good to be here. My name is Elijah Wheeler. I have the pleasure of serving as the Executive Director of the Montgomery County Collaboration Council for Children, Youth, and Families, Montgomery County's local management board. Looking forward to working with you all. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And I just want to make sure, is Scott Schneider on the call? Sorry, I'm having trouble. Yes, I just see Scott. Scott, please introduce yourself. Scott, if you are speaking, you are still on mute. I see you. There we go.
I just unmuted him.
Okay. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, thank you. Hi. My
Hi.
name is Scott Schneider. I'm a 37-year resident of Montgomery County. I just retired recently from about 40 years of doing occupational safety for various unions in Washington, D.C. area. And in particular, the last couple of years, I've been focusing a lot on how to change the safety culture, safety climate in the construction industry, so there's some parallels in changing police culture. And I did go through the Citizens Police Academy in the county 3 years ago. So looking forward to the discussions and how making some recommendations that might be helpful to the county.
Thank you. Okay, and it looks like I'm looking at the list. I believe Karen Maricho, if I'm getting that name right. Believe you did not have an opportunity to speak the last time. I know you're on here. I just can't seem to. Yes, and I will unmute you because it looks like. Go ahead, Karen.
Hi, thank you, everyone. Yeah, my last name is pronounced Maricho, like to marry and show.
Thank
You
you.
know, the spelling was kind of tricky. So I am a commissioner on the Commission on Aging, currently leading a task force on racial equity, dementia services, and police. I'm also a leader and originator of the Forest Estates Task Force for Racial Justice. And our focus with that neighborhood group is to become a welcoming, inclusive, respectful community concerned with each other's safety and well-being. And I look forward to participating as a task force member. Thank you.
Yeah, it looks like, is there anyone else that I overlooked that would like a brief opportunity to introduce themselves? Okay, hearing none, then we will move on to the plenary reports, and I'll pass it over to Mark to start off.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. So we have 5 focus areas we want to look at, and the first one is data regarding 911 and 311 calls and what that looks like coming into the county and what responses are. We'll hear an opening from Dave Gottesman, who's the staff manager of the Office of Management and Budget. And Dave, please go ahead. You're muted. There you go.
Yes, I need okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Terrific, thank you. Hello, everyone, and good evening, task force members. My name is Dave Gottesman, and I am the County Stat Manager in the Office of Management and Budget. County Stat is the government's performance management data analytics team. I am a Montgomery County native and have lived in Silver Spring, the Cabot John area of Bethesda, and now in Rockville. I have been with Montgomery County government in this role since December of 2012. It's good to be here with you this evening, and thank you for your time and your commitment to these important issues. I appreciate you taking the time to hear about our process and approach for developing the Focus Area Number 1 report. Our task was to present the relevant 911, or more accurately described as ECC, the Emergency Communications Center, and MC301 data that would convey what the people of Montgomery County are asking of our police department. The general approach had 2 main elements. The first was the context that we have all heard that there may be issues that have become known as police issues by virtue of the fact that law enforcement is sometimes people's immediate or default response, and 911 or 311 are sometimes the easiest numbers to dial when faced with a threat or a problem, even if the issue might be able to be handled by a different entity or service. The second was the premise that looking at the actual requests as articulated and represented by the caller, and therefore tagged as the initial incident type in the system, would be the best reflection of what people are looking to the police department for. So about the ECC data. This data was pulled directly from the CAD, or the Computer-Aided Dispatch System, for the period of April 2, 2017 through July 16, 2020. The system launched in its current format on April 2nd, 2017. And our work commenced on July 16. So we use that date frame to ensure consistency with respect to data capture and reporting. The data was filtered and clarified to eliminate extraneous or irrelevant calls, and these would be calls that were either purely administrative in nature, calls that were transferred to the TRU or telephone reporting unit and did not have a live response, or calls that were created internally by police officers while on patrol versus being called in by a member of the public. A number of the resulting 132 incident types were very similar to one another and were thus grouped into their own categories. For example, an incident such as a robbery being reported has a slightly different code if it happened more or less than 15 minutes before the call was placed. So those like types that were really the same thing were grouped together for clarity and consistency. And lastly, we kept in the analysis animal-related calls, because even though the Office of Animal Services has since split off from the police department, the OAS does not respond 24/7 like the police department does, and at any time the police would still be notified if there was a vicious animal attack. So the end result was 65 unique categories of calls or incidents that were reported to the ECC over that roughly 40-month period. The top 7 initial incident types make up greater than 50% of all requests from the public, and they can be summed up as the following: traffic or transportation incidents and violations, alarms of various types, suspicious persons, public disturbances and nuisances, theft or larceny, and domestic disputes or domestic violence. And following those types, there is what's called a very long tail of all the other incident types that happen at much smaller levels. To supplement the ECC data, MC311 call data was pulled from the county's Siebel system for the same date range as the ECC data. We found just over 56,000 311 calls related to the police department, grouped in 149 unique service request types. 41.2% of those calls resulted in an immediate transfer to the ECC, and that's where the MC311 customer service rep stays on the line with the caller until the ECC operator picks up. So those calls are going to be conveyed in the ECC data as well. And then 40.7% of all the calls are related to the now spun off Office of Animal Services, but we included them in the data set for the reasons I already stated. So of the remaining service request types, less than 20% of them, the most common are reporting untagged or inoperable vehicles, requesting a specific phone number related to the police department, requesting information related to paying a fine from a speed camera or red light camera, obtaining a copy of a non-accident police report, registering a home alarm system, or obtaining the address of a district station. And following those, you have another very long tail of service request types. And then lastly, in our report, we provided descriptions and links to publicly available data sets listed on the county's Data Montgomery Open Data website that come out of the police department and might be of interest to task force members. And that information that I just described and that process we used to get there is what makes up the sum and substance of our piece of the report that you've received. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. I think, as I said before, put questions in the chat room. I have a quick question to get us started, and then we'll turn to Caroline. I note in your section there's some discussion about crime data, crime rates in the county, and I think links to the website. I think it would be useful for us to have some information about crime and arrest trends in the county and racial, ethnic data along with that. Is that readily available on the website or something you could produce if we put together a request?
So I don't think you're referring to my section specifically for crime and arrest data, but we can produce, some follow-on data about crime trends. We can look at things geographically if you prefer, over time. And then as far as race and ethnicity data, we have that readily available and publicly available actually for things like traffic stops. But for other crimes, it's often it's entered into a system at the discretion of the officer. And sort of it's not like there's someone's carrying a card that says I'm this. You know, the officer puts in what their judgment is typically, but whatever is available, I'm happy to produce.
Okay, great.
Mark, I just have a quick follow-up to that because I had a question that was kind of on point, but maybe in line of what Dave can provide. I understand that the traffic stop data based on race really stemmed from a memorandum of agreement, from my understanding, over 20 years ago with DOJ, where that type of information was agreed upon to be recorded. So my question to you is it a matter of what would it take? Is it just a matter of you just looking it up, or does it take additional steps to get information on, like, perhaps maybe 911 calls that are racially motivated, or including like mental health calls? I think I'm really intrigued by the suspicious section being such a big bulk of it and not knowing what that is, what that really means. And so is there a way to get that type of data more specific to the 911 calls, whether it's getting copies of it or just getting particular data on it?
So mental health issues, or someone calls in reporting a mental health issue, that is one of the initial incident types that is in the data. Again, if you need, the point of this first cut was to give everybody just the data, a first cut. And then if you need more specificity, say about a particular incident type, and you wanted to see, this is just hypothetical, mental health calls by zip code, something like that, then, those are the kinds of requests that you can put in, and we can work on them with, our limited bandwidth. But we can, if something can be produced, we'll do it.
Okay, but it's by zip code, not necessarily by race. I'm just trying to make sure I understand what you mean by that. If it's possible to do it by race.
I will have to check and see if that is a field, if you will. I suspect that it may be inconsistently reported, but I'm happy to look into that for you. Okay. But yes, you're right about the traffic stop data, which is currently publicly available on the Data Montgomery site, does have a category for race and ethnicity. That's already available for the traffic stop data.
Right. Thank you.
Caroline, do you have a question from the chat room?
Let's see. Yes, I do. I think I have 2 or 3 here. So as a reminder to the group, I know we've set time for each of the focus areas just to ensure that we'll be able to get through all of them. So please be concise with your question. First one I see is from Edmund Morris.
You just want to read the question, Caroline? Is that easier?
Sure. Let's see. A clarifying question on categories: disturbance, nuisance, alongside vandalism, damage. Do we have examples of what would qualify? What would the demographic or response data be available on Data Montgomery?
Okay, so for answer to your first question, if you look at the report, what I made a judgment call about incident types that would not be clear to the general public. Maybe they're more in like kind of police language, if you will. And I added explanations in the table that you can see that something is sort of like a lingo, if you will, and some explanations. But if you need more precise definitions of what a public disturbance means, then I can get that for you. And then the second part of that question was similar to the last question about race and ethnicity data for particular crime types, if I'm not mistaken. And as I answered to Bernice, we can look into all that, as a follow-up.
Okay, I think, unfortunately, this is going to be a frustrating evening. Let me just tell you that right away, because we could spend, as we know, hours with each person. But don't worry too much. All the questions going in the chat room will be filtered down to staff, to Bernice and me, and the subgroups work on these things. So please put your questions in there, even though we may not be able to get to many of them tonight, but they will be addressed in the coming weeks. And so I think we need to move on to the next focus area that Bernice will introduce.
Thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Yes, so I'm introducing Trevor Lobaugh, Fiscal and Policy Analyst with the Office of Management and Budget, who's going to talk about the Police Department budget data and structure. So take it away, Trevor. So you are unmuted? Yes, okay. Whenever you're ready, Trevor.
Everyone can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, just checking. Hi, everyone. My name is Trevor Lobaugh. I work with the County Office of Management and Budget as a fiscal and policy analyst. I had the pleasure of leading Focus Area 2, which had the goal of examining the police department's budget and structure. Given that the task force members may not be as familiar with the details of the police's budget and structure, what our group spent time focusing on was producing an overview of both the budget and structure as they stand today to ensure that everyone has a base level of knowledge about the department before the reimagining effort moves forward in earnest. Our section of the report is broken into four sections. The first is a high-level police budget overview and look at the history of the police budget. The second is a personnel overview and description of the police department structure. The third is a review of the operating expense budget, which is basically everything that's not personnel. And then the last is just a collection of other information that had been gathered related to other topics of interest. Before I go over each section, I did just want to mention that both my office and the police department are prepared to provide additional information and analyses about topics of interest to the task force that you would like to see. So as I mentioned, the first section of the report provides that high-level overview. A few of the most important takeaways, I think, from the first section. The first one is that the police's budget is approximately 80% personnel cost or employees. This means that most of the budgetary change each year is due to personnel-related issues like compensation, retirement, turnover, and vacancy rates instead of things like equipment or vehicles. Another important takeaway is that the total police department budget represents almost a quarter of the county's general fund expenditures. And when I say county government, that doesn't include outside agencies like MCPS, park and planning, and other components that make up a large portion of the total county budget, but just the county government budget departments like transportation and other things like that. And then lastly, the police budgets over time has increased at a rate that was less than the county government's tax-supported budget growth since FY15. Police department's budget has grown 2.7% over that period since FY15 compared to 14% for the county government's tax-supported budget. And there's a chart in our section which summarizes the main factors influencing the change each year. The second section is an overview of police's structure and personnel. The police department is structured into four major operational bureaus under the Office of the Chief, which is the Field Services Bureau, Investigative Services Bureau, Management Service Bureau, and Patrol Services Bureau. In the interest of time, I don't think I have time to go through each of those, but if you look on the report, it summarizes each bureau and division's responsibilities, budget, and employees. I think this section is most useful for just going over the variety of functions and work that the department handles, as well as breaking out at a high level what funding and personnel within each bureau is actually supporting. The third section goes over the operating expense budget. So this is everything that's not personnel and makes up approximately 20% of police's budget. The section details the major categories of operating expenses over the last 3 fiscal years. Contracts and services is the largest category and represents over a third of operating expenditures over the last 3 years. We detail the 10 largest contracts within that section for average annual expenditures over the last 3 years. There's also some information about police's motor pool budget, which represents about 30% of their operating expenses, and that supports their fleet and maintenance needs. And then there's also some information just about the equipment cost for a typical police officer. The last thing I'll note about operating expense budget is that the majority of it is budgeted centrally within Police's Management Services Bureau, even though this funding supports bureaus and divisions throughout the entire department. And this is done just because the Management Services Bureau within police centrally manages and controls financial matters for the department. The last section is kind of a catch-all. It has some budgetary information gathered about the School Resource Officer Program, which I know some of the other focus areas touched on as well. It also has information about the police department's equipment that they've received from the Department of Defense's 1033 program, which is the transfer of defense material to law enforcement agencies across the country. I'll go ahead and stop there because I know we're trying to get through quickly.
5 minutes on the dot. Perfect.
But I would encourage people to also look at the appendices if they're interested in this topic, because I think there's some good information in there, and happy to address any questions or comments anyone has. Thanks.
Carol, unless Mark has anything, Carol, you can go to the chat box. I think I saw a couple of questions that were pretty on point with Trevor's presentation. Just looking through here.
Data on, I see data on overtime costs. Yeah, we can definitely provide that information. I don't have it off the top of my head, but we can provide that to the task force.
All right, great, thanks. I was busy trying to unmute myself. On overtime.
Hey, Robert. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Con.
Oh, go ahead. You're ahead of me, Trevor. You saw the question from Robert Finger?
Yes, about the crisis response and support section. So that was saying that that's entirely made up of personnel costs. That goes back to the point I was trying to make about the Management Services Bureau. So there certainly are some operating expenses that are associated with that program, but those are essentially budgeted within Management Services, which is why it appears on the breakout as having 0 operating expenses there. I could work with police to figure out what operating expenses we could allocate to that program that would be associated with that.
Okay. A question from Karen Marichip. Does the budget include monies for lawsuits against police, or does the county carry a bond to handle these types of lawsuits and police brutality?
I do not know that off the top of my head, but we can get back on that one.
Okay. Looks like Jennifer Bryant, the acting director of the Office of Management and Budget, is on the call. Thanks for being here, Jenny. She commented that the county is self-insured. So there is a question asking, where exactly does the money come for paying out lawsuits? Okay, Trevor has already stated that he will follow up on that. Jeremy Dickey has a question regarding equipment, regarding the mine-resistant ambush protected vehicle acquired in 2014 from the Department of Defense that has a maintenance budget of $5,000 a year. Can we get the data on how often this vehicle is used during a year?
Yeah, we can get that.
Okay. All right. That concludes all of the questions for our budget.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I'll let Mark go ahead and introduce the next focus area.
Okay, so focus area number 3 is County Police Department programs, and doing the presentation is Juru Bande. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Who's the director of the East County Regional Office. So please go ahead.
Okay.
Hi.
Here we go, Jerry.
Thank you. I just got unmuted. Good evening. My name is Juru Bande, Regional Director for the East County Regional Office. I'm one of 5 regional directors in Montgomery County. The regional directors in each of the 5 regions, we work with our respective regional boards, presidents, community groups, businesses, and public agencies to proactively seek and gather information and assess community needs, problems, and issues in order to provide timely solutions as we represent our regions in policy discussions and serve as liaisons between those communities and Montgomery County government. Our area was responsible for Area 3, which is very broad, on gathering information on Montgomery County Police Department programs, as well as programs that have been implemented elsewhere with training and de-escalation. The approach we took, we looked at not only the training programs the Montgomery MCPD provides for recruitment, training, related areas training in Montgomery County. We looked at 5, 6 to 7 sub-focus areas, which I'll highlight very, very quickly because there's a lot of information in our report. The first subsection we dealt with is really looking at the training under the Montgomery County Police Department, which for the 1,307 sworn police officers, all the training programs that are state or federally mandated, the number of trainings that they do on an annual basis, and the training in the 3 very respective areas, covering the basic training, the new recruits service training for probationary officers, and the annual in-service training for all sworn officers, and then the specialized training for other police functions. There are a number of key takeaways which are highlighted in our report, including the providing information about the resources that are available to our police department, starting with the 37 full-time staff complement that they have, but it's also some of the findings in our research pertaining to the training that's done for other law enforcement agencies, including the City of Rockville, Gettysburg, the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, Tacoma Park, and the Parks Department. The second subsection, focus area is looking at what are some of the nationally available resources or expertise that we have. We turned to the Police Executive Research Forum through the director Chuck Wexler, who is the executive director who lives in Bethesda. This national nonprofit agency based in DC provides management services, technical assistance, executive level education, consultancy to support law enforcement agencies, providing guidance on best practices on policing, strategies for building police community trust, and reforming police agencies. The third sub-focus areas we looked at is the local county policing data and best practices for advancing policing. Critical here is trying to find out all we can about the Montgomery County Police Department's practices for compiling data on police interactions with the public and their alignment with best practices to advance constitutional policing. We looked at the County Office of Legislative Oversight Report 2020-9, which was dated July 21st, 2020, describing, among other things, the disparities in policing outcomes by race and ethnicity in police interactions with the public. We also looked at the President's Task Force for the 21st Century Policing and its recommendations based on a report published in 2014 to identify best practices in policing with recommendations for advancing practices that promote effective crime reduction, building police community trust, and procedural justice. Then we focused on an area which is pretty lengthy in our report, which focused on the 6 pillars of the 21st century policing. Our report describes those 6 pillars, and also we identified our Montgomery County Police Department practices, procedures that best aligned with those 6 pillars. So our report, obviously I don't think we have enough time today to go over much of those. Our focus area number 4 dealt with the public safety training programs and national practices. We provided in our report results from a survey from the Federal Census of Law Enforcement Training Academies, referred to as CLEADER, based on similarly sized jurisdictions to Montgomery County. We provided information on best practices, oversight provided by the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies. We provided a lot of information in terms of not only the training in Montgomery County, provides, but the number of hours in each of those training areas for basic training, for example, as well as training for recruits, training for probationary officers, and training for other police functions. We provided information very specific to some key areas, including de-escalation, police use of force, as well as all the areas for accreditation, whether it is federally or state mandated. Focus group number 5 is looking at the school resource officer program, its roles, expectations, training, and interactions with students based on the State Bill 1265, Maryland Safe to Learn Act of 2018, a legislation requiring all public schools to have either an SRO or a plan for adequate law enforcement coverage in place by the 2019-2020 school year. We have information that covers virtually all the questions or most of the questions we may have about the SRO programs, including the 26 sworn officers assigned to the high schools, the MOU between the Montgomery County Public Schools, Montgomery County Police Department, and other agencies, including Tacoma Park, the Sheriff's Department, Gettysburg, the Montgomery County State Attorney's Office. This MOU establishes the terms, duties, responsibilities, roles, and protocols for the SRO program. Our report also highlights the interactions with students, including the 27 physical arrests that were made in 2019-20 school year, 2 of which were the self-initiated arrest. That information is also contained in our report. So, area 6 is the critical.
Giroux, I think we want to allow enough time for some questions also. So, if you wouldn't mind, is this an okay time to open it up for questions?
Yes, let's do that, because as I indicated, this is a very long.
Sure. No, we appreciate that. So,
thank you.
Yeah. So, Caroline, if you have any questions.
Yes, I surely will do that. And just want to remind the group that we know that there's a lot of information in here. The role of this report was just to be, as such, informational, knowing that there will be additional requests coming as we move through. The work of the task force and our office, the county departments will be available to provide those additional information. I wanted to try to get Katie Strauss in here. I know we stated that we would allow her to introduce herself, and I believe she also had a question regarding training programs. So, Katie, if you want to unmute yourself so you can do a quick introduction so people can see you, hear from you, and then ask your question while I scroll down to look at the additional questions.
Hi, sure, thanks. This is Katie Strauss. I'm a founding member of Silver Spring Justice Coalition. We formed after Robert White was killed in 2018. He was a black neighbor walking through the neighborhood in Silver Spring and was killed by an officer who's still on duty in Montgomery County. I'm really grateful for this group, and I'm happy to be here with so many great people, and looking forward to hopefully making drastic changes. I've personally been harmed by police in the county, and I've more than that witnessed so much harm, personally witnessed harm, especially to black and brown people near where I grew up in White Oak. So thanks again for having us here.
Great. Thanks, Katie. I just wanted to honor that, make sure everyone had a chance to introduce themselves. First question, it looks like, is from Scott Schneider. What protections are there for whistleblowers, as well as for officers who report incidents or misconduct of other officers? Giroux, did you guys get a chance to talk about that?
Yes, under the last section that deals with critical incident, there is a section that talks about the Internal Affairs Division, which deals with the internal investigations process for suspected police misconduct or complaints. And that's handled internally. And that section highlights the entire process in terms of conducting a formal investigation in accordance with the Maryland Law Enforcement Officers Bill of Rights. So that's handled internally within the the internal investigations divisions.
Okay. We do have a question from Anna Martinez. In section 1, calls regarding domestic violence seems high. So how is training on domestic violence is below national average of only 2 hours? Is this a section that another department with proper training could provide support on?
We highlighted areas hopefully the task force will look at in terms of all the training that we do. How do we look at those areas that are of critical interest to this task force and make recommendations? We looking at that chart is identifying at least 4 or 5 areas, including domestic violence training. However, there are other areas where I think comparatively the police does very well, just in terms of the training hours.
Okay. I see from Joanna Silver, not necessarily a question, but it looks like requesting additional information regarding the breakdown of how many number of training hours in the various categories included in the report are hours performed during the initial academy probationary period, and then those that are performed during annual trainings and post-academy. So, Joanna, we see that request for additional information.
That'll be good. Yeah, I will follow up on that. Yes.
Okay. Edmund Morris has a question regarding the 6-pillar alignment. For those elements that do not completely align, could we get information on existing plans, programs to bring practice into alignment, particularly stops that do not result in arrest or citations, and perceptions of police-community relations? So that is another ask that we have documented. Let's see, Scott Schneider has another question for traffic stop data. What percent are pretextual stops?
I cannot talk about that offhand at this moment, but I'll make a note and then get back with an answer on that particular data point.
That's fair. We'll collect data on that. Let's see. Karen Marichu has a question. Why does the police continue to handle mental health and drug, alcohol crisis interventions when they do not have the depth and level of training as social workers with 4 years of training focusing exclusively in these areas? I believe this is one of the areas that we definitely want the task force to ask that question and look into alternatives for that. So, Drew, I don't know if your group started to pull information on that.
Currently, the police department has the crisis intervention support team, which is housed within the field services division. That division has a CIT clinician who is a co-responder with the Montgomery County Police Department in encounters with individuals with mental health and substance abuse. The CIT clinician also conducts all the specialized training, and this training has now become a very integral part of the training programs, including the mental health first aid programs. So the last section of the report highlights some aspects of this concern that's just been mentioned here.
Okay, Caroline, I think we probably need to move on. Drew, thanks very much for your presentation, and we'll do the follow-up as well. And let me turn it over to Bernice again.
Great. One moment as I navigate the Zoom world here. Okay. Okay, before I transition, I do want to acknowledge an individual who I overlooked and did not get a chance to introduce himself. So if you can just bear with me just a couple seconds. I did want to introduce Gareth Murray, and make sure you are unmuted this time. And please introduce yourself. I know you have to run to a meeting before we finish ours. So, Gareth, go ahead. Or did he already leave? Okay, he already left. Okay. All right, so with that, unless I am missing him again, I'm going to move on to the next section. So the next session, Focus Area 4, we're going to talk about identifying other county departments, nonprofit organizations, and other agencies to propose alternative procedures, programs, and policies to be considered. And who the individual is going to talk a little bit about the report on that is Athena Morrow, Manager of Adult Forensic Services with the Department of Health and Human Services. So Athena, please take it away.
Great. Good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. I am a veteran staff member with Health and Human Services for 31 years, and I have been privileged to work with those with behavioral health issues, mental health issues that come in contact with the criminal justice system. I'm a licensed clinician by profession, and I manage a number of programs that serve that population right now, including some jail-based programs that provide mental health assessment, substance abuse treatment in the jail, reentry services, and our mental health court in Montgomery County. So I wanted to provide you with a platform of how we organized our work. And if you start at page 42, which is when our input has been put into this report, you will notice there is a chart which is called the sequential intercept model. This is something that SAMHSA developed to help communities organize their thinking on how to address that contact that folks with behavioral health issues have when they come into contact with criminal justice. The intercepts are different opportunities along the way, from the first contact with the police officer on the street all the way to after going through the criminal justice process, being incarcerated perhaps, or getting released, and post. So there's 6 different opportunities that a system has the chance to intervene and provide services to those with mental health and substance abuse issues. For example, and I'm not going to go in detail because it's a very complicated thing. I would urge you to go and look at all the examples that we gave of what we currently have in Montgomery County, what other jurisdictions have in their areas per intercept. But 0 intercept, for example, is when a client has not come into contact with law enforcement. What do we have in place? We have things like our crisis services, for example. When we're looking at the first intercept, that is when law enforcement first comes into contact with somebody on the street. What options do law enforcement officers have at that point? What can they do in lieu of arresting someone? So this is where you see things like opportunities to deflect, opportunities to send people to services instead of incarceration or arrest. So we do have some programs that involve involve peers. One of them is called STEER. It's a program that has 5 peers that respond to substance abuse overdoses and serious substance abuse episodes on the street. We have several diversion programs led by the state's attorney's office, where folks are sent to programs to participate in treatment services in lieu of having their charges pursued. Those are called diversions. We have, if you move on to the second intercept, this is where the first detention or the first hearing happens for someone after they have been charged with an offense. And during that, again, what opportunities do we have? We have, through collaborations between our department, which is Health and Human Services, Corrections, Police, we have developed numerous diversion programs so folks get to be assessed when they go into the jail with all their mental health needs. Recommendations are made to the court to divert them to the community so they can participate in treatment under supervision while pending their court cases, for example. The third intercept is when someone has to remain detained pending their case or if they're sentenced. And so in our own jurisdiction, we do have programs such as a substance abuse program in the jail that's CARF accredited. We do have problem-solving courts that people are then allowed to participate in lieu of incarceration. Our mental health court, for example, has been in operation for the past, I want to say 3 years now, 4 almost. We have a graduation coming up with 12 candidates who are successfully graduating from mental health court. We have a very successful drug court in Montgomery County. So those are alternatives. While somebody is detained, they also can receive mental health services, medication management. The fourth intercept is reentry, is when folks are ready to exit the detention facility, and what services can we provide for them. The Department of Corrections has a very robust reentry for all program. They provide entitlements to folks, medications when they exit, warm handoffs to the community resources that they need. HHS is supporting that by serving the highly mentally ill folks. The fifth intercept is community corrections, is what happens when folks have an opportunity to serve part of their sentence in the community. So we have the pre-release center here in Montgomery County. Among other services, we have specialized dockets with probation. And it's important to distinguish what alternatives we have, because sometimes if we don't think of that continuum, we tend to confuse one intervention with another. We may think we have a mental health court that will serve all the needs of those offenders, but it all depends where they are on that continuum. So one of the other things that we were tasked in our group, and you will see information in there, involves a restoration center. And the restoration center is an idea. It's something that we do not have in Montgomery County, that we have studied. It exists in other jurisdictions and in other parts of the country. It provides a safe space for folks who are in crisis to be delivered to, whether they be delivered by the police because they were picked up on the street with behavioral health issues, or fire and rescue, or by their families, or by themselves. It's a welcoming place. It's 100% admission. It functions according to best evidence-based practices, including trauma-informed care, harm reduction, and an opportunity to stabilize the person, to properly assess them, and then provide them with the rest of the services that they need to avoid a recurrence of the crisis. So those are some of the things that
I did want to wrap us up, because we're approaching that.
Yeah, well, I'm done, and I was going to ask if there are any questions, because that's sort of
wonderful. We have quite a bit of questions in the chat box, so just take it away.
Okay, so let's see. Bernice, Mark, do you guys have any questions?
No.
I'm thinking. I appreciate that that opportunity, because I'm looking at chat box and keeping track of time. My question is, I'm trying to figure out. We talked a lot about the alternative programs, but my question is, I guess, is there data on how often we are offering these programs to those who are being arrested, and how are these offers being determined? Is there a questionnaire that is done? I mean, what are the questions that we're asking to determine whether individuals need these alternative services? I don't know if there's a way to get data on that, because I understand the programs, but how are we getting people into those programs?
That is something that I would propose that folks who are interested in this topic engage in this conversation in our following meetings. There's a lot of different answers to that depending on the program and who's providing the service. But the majority of the services engage the client. The client has to agree. There are some programs that you can actually enforce a certain degree of services, but an individual has a lot of choices in that. So in the data that differs depending on whether it was gathered by corrections, HHS, police. So we have a little bit of a gap sharing data there.
I understand. Thank you.
Great. All right. And I'm sorry, Mark, did you want to get in there?
I guess just a quick follow-up on that. I mean, you're probably aware, many programs that style themselves as alternatives or diversions, provide good services to people in need. There's a deeper question, though, about to what extent they actually serve as alternatives to incarceration, and there's a very sort of complex history and research on that. I think moving forward, it would be interesting to know what kind of data or evaluations have been done in the county, and how is that kind of measured, and what are the outcomes, and how do we know that we're meeting that sort of thing. So
some of that data we provided in the reports for your review. I know that they were gathered by Department of Corrections, but there's also a lot of data that is not available. So
sure.
It's one of those things that we need to look into.
Great. Thanks. As I was scrolling through our chat box, I noticed questions. Some are being answered by some of the expertise that we have in the task force. And I noticed, Mark, Bernice, questions that you asked are some related questions. So I'm scrolling here to try to identify different questions. I see one from Simeon Walton regarding our officer survey to find out what areas of training they need, those in the academy versus post-academy. So I guess in summary, our officers being surveyed, but I think that's probably from the last section that we were in. So let me scroll down. Karen Marichu has a question. Why aren't appropriately trained professionals handling these public health issues instead of the police? This is a question that keeps coming up, which is definitely an area for the task force to explore and provide the county with recommendations on how we can respond to those calls differently. Scott Schneider has a question. Is there data on how many people are at each intercept level? Athena, I think you may be...
Some data, yes. There is some data depending on the various entities that gather. There's no cohesive data. We have actually tried to look into cohesive data and it's lacking. But we do have snapshots that help us in some ways to look at, and we also have some data that points as to some of our gaps. In other words, what populations are we having the hardest time serving and why? What are the barriers? So there is some data there. It's not...
Okay, thank you. I do see a number of follow-up questions on training, so you may see that I'm skipping them, but we will come back to those questions later. But for this section, Barton Arasan has a question. DV calls are usually viewed by police departments as involving a high-risk violence. Question is, do we have data on this?
Which part specific? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Then I don't know if you have DV calls are viewed by police departments as involving high risk of violence. They want to know, do we have data on this? So if you don't immediately have that answer, that's okay. We have it noted here. We could definitely follow up on that. Edmund Morris, curious about non-crisis mental health resources that do not require involvement with the police carceral system. Not sure there's a question there. Joanna Silver has a question. Is there race-based data on who is admitted to the specialized courts?
Yes. That we have. I'm not so sure we submitted it in the report, but we can definitely access that.
Okay. Another question regarding programs that you said are very successful. Whittaker wanted to know, how are you measuring success?
Depends on the engagement a lot of times of the person in the treatment resources and their ability to stay away from recidivating. Providing some stability for them. If housing is what's missing, then we've provided housing. If engagement in treatment has reduced their likelihood to reoffend, if we can provide sobriety resources and minimize repetition of crime. So there are some ways of measuring a person's ability to stay sober, clean, away from crime, stable, productive.
Thank you. Let's see. There is a question from Karen Marichu wanting to know, is there any way we can measure how effectively officers engage or de-escalate crisis situations involving mental illness?
Would that be for me?
Oh, we'll put it we'll put it in a parking lot as one that we can follow up on.
It's a big question and a great question.
question. It may be for police department. And it looks like the last one I see from Scott Schneider is what % of use of force incidents involve people with mental health issues. So, Thane, I'm not sure if that was in your report or if that's one that we'll have to ask the police department.
I think we were asking the data group to look into some of that for us.
Okay.
I do see we're running short on time. Look at the. But there's one more question.
That was it.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'll just hand over to Mark for the next focus area.
Sure. Okay. Our final focus area, and unfortunately we only have 10 minutes for this because we want to have enough time for Caroline to talk about where we go and next steps. But this is on research on proposing best practices for the intersection of health, social services, and crisis responses. We'll hear from Doran Hill, who's the acting administrator of Trauma and Crisis Services for Department of Health and Human Services in the county. So, Doran, can you open up?
Sure. Good evening. This is Doran Hill. I am so happy to be here. I am a lifelong resident of Montgomery County. I am in charge of the Crisis Center, Domestic Violence, Abused Persons Program, Victims of Sexual Assault, and Access to Behavioral Health Services. So I also want to introduce my co-lead on this group, Amanda Harris, who will pop on camera and say hello. Our group looked at, I saw some questions in the chat box about what services are offered that are not police-led. And if you go to page 60 in the document, that is where our tasks are laid out, where we looked at what crisis response services for mental health, homelessness, child welfare, youth diversion, and domestic violence are already established and working within not just police and fire rescue, but the Department of Health and Human Services and across the entire county. So they're very much laid out under which service we have. Of course, we already spoke about the crisis intervention team. We also have the mobile crisis outreach teams at the crisis center. We have peer support workers. We have the homeless street outreach programs, and I'm not going to read through everything since we're pressed for time. But as you see, we have, the Abused Persons Program, the Family Justice Center. Those are the domestic violence programs that offer support services in way of outreach, therapy, psychiatry, and intervention. So we did want to give you a framework for what we already do, so that you wouldn't be so that way you have a good framework where to start. As well as we did have a couple of best practices that we looked at, that we've heard about, that we did lay out for you in the document on page 68. For further discussion, we talked about intervention models. There's the Crisis Now model, CAHOOTS, the CIT expansion, putting more therapists in the police department. Fire Rescue has a mobile integrated health team where they also have a therapist embedded in their program to deal with high utilizers and at-risk clients. We said that maybe we should talk about the integration of all the different mobile outreach teams and how we can leverage and align what we already have. That might be something to look at during our task force work. As far as prevention, we spoke about marketing and promotion of the current and new initiatives. Whatever the task force puts out is paramount for the community to understand what's there and what's happening. The expansion of mental health first aid across the county. And again, the expansion of crisis intervention team training across public safety. So right now, the police department are trained by police and therapists for the crisis intervention team, but expanding that to fire rescue and other people in the public safety arena. I don't want to rush, but I also don't want to go over if there are questions. So we also talked about looking at prevention models, and that's where the marketing comes in, but also looking at media and social media intervention campaigns for substance abuse to really target audiences, how to reach the youth. I saw someone ask about juvenile statistics. So figuring out how to lower children's risk for future substance abuse and other high-risk activities. So that's one of the things we think the task force should look at. And then also to sustain what we already have. Some things that we thought we might look at doing differently is follow-up after crisis interventions on all service delivery fronts, assertive community treatment models with a homeless and mental health platform. We also thought that looking at vulnerable adults is a good way to address across the lifespan where we may have been missing some outreach for crisis, and also to make the community aware of what we have available for them. And then also maybe looking at how to collaborate with the hospitals and other programs to make sure that we have adequate services for mental health and domestic violence in the community for the clients, like Athena said, to really be able to give alternative places for interventions and for clients besides incarceration and arrest. Amanda, do you have anything that you would like to add?
Yeah, I think that you covered that quite well. Just want to emphasize the need that we encourage you as a task force to look beyond just how do we respond to the crisis, but how do we actually stop the crisis from happening in the future? Because we can do the best job in the world of responding to every crisis, but if the same person keeps having whoever it is, whether it's a social worker or a police coming out, we're not doing something right. So I think that that's the future work.
Great. If I could follow up with either one of you, do you have any general sense of where the county stands compared to, say, 10 years ago in terms of the range of programs and services, or the amount of funding going towards those? Are we about the same? Is it a little more, a little less? Do you have any ideas on that?
So Amanda can speak if she would like, but I know that we definitely have had more mental health services, more funding. The county council just approved 6 more positions for the mobile crisis outreach teams to do the intervention work in the community and be there so that we can do the prevention work and figure out how to get clients and community members what they need before the police have to become involved. But Amanda, you can speak more to that.
Yeah, I think that's right. I can speak specifically to services to end and prevent homelessness, and we have certainly had an increase of resources that have allowed us to do better outreach and engagement. Our street outreach teams that actually go out and engage with people sleeping outside, 3 years ago we had a total of 4 FTE, or full-time employees, and we now have, I believe it's 14. So there's been a huge increase.
Okay, thanks. Caroline, do you have any questions in that?
Yeah, there are a couple. One here is, do we have data comparing outcomes when a crisis team is involved versus just police officers?
To my knowledge, I know the county does not have that information. I am unsure if the police department has that information.
Let's see, and I see additional information just added on here. Some more information, resources, and links.
And Dr. Crow our director did make a comment, if you would like to read that. Yeah, he just said that funding, Dr. Crow, our director, said funding has been up and down over the last 10 years. The 6th therapist added is recent, like in the last couple months.
Okay. Okay.
So did you want me to answer?
Did you see another question?
There was a question about the mobile crisis team.
Okay. Go ahead and state the question for our viewers.
I'm not sure if it was Katie. Katie Strauss. I'm not sure if that was a question or a comment about the crisis team involvement with one clinician. We do have one team, but it has 2 clinicians, and we are expanding those teams within the next couple months.
Okay, well, thanks so much to all of you, all the presenters. It's been very helpful in getting us grounded in the issues. Caroline now has the unfortunate task of telling us how it's all going to come together with all these different pieces flying around, but we think she's well positioned to do that, and we have a structure to talk about. So Caroline, please go ahead.
Great. I will try my best here in wrapping it. First of all, I want to thank all the county departments and employees who participated in the work group to pull together the information that was shared tonight, as well as the data in the report. As stated, this information is really to inform the work of the task force. It's not comprehensive. As we have seen tonight through the questions and comments, there is more information, more data that is being requested, so we will definitely follow up on all of that. I also want to acknowledge and thank each and every one of you for reviewing the report and coming prepared with your questions tonight. We were not able to address all of the questions, but please continue to submit your questions, whether it's in the chat box or you may send it to our Reimagine email account at Montgomery County. It is on our Reimagining public safety website address, as well as we've shared it with this task force. So if anyone needs it, please reach out to myself or the co-chairs, and we will make sure you get that information because we do want to be responsive to your questions. In the past hour, we have covered a lot of material, yet we still have much more ground to tackle in the upcoming months. So how will we proceed with that? First of all, a schedule of meetings for all the full task force meetings have been developed and shared with this group. If I'm not mistaken, we did release it with a press release earlier this week. We also have the full schedule through January of 2021 available on the county's website. So if anyone's interested in booking those dates so they can view and participate in these conversations, I encourage you to take a look at the schedule. The agenda for those meetings are to be determined, but will be guided by the work of the task force as we proceed. Included in the schedule, we are scheduling a community forum in the early part of December 3rd, if I recall correctly. That will be an opportunity to expand community input throughout this reimagining initiative. Due to the size of the task force, we will organize this group into smaller subcommittees by focus areas. In doing that, we conducted a survey with all of the task force members to allow you a chance to choose what focus area you would like to work on. In reviewing the survey results, we see that 46% of the respondents expressed an interest in working on the police department programs. 22% of the respondents want to work on the focus area best practices for health, social services, and crisis response system. 13% would like to work on the focus area that's looking at alternative programs to police and jails. And about 13% of the membership wants to take a closer look at the police department budget and structure. From the survey, we also received additional feedback for areas that we did not highlight that we should consider creating a subcommittee for. Just quickly share with the group what we heard from the survey. There was some interest in looking at violence prevention and reduction, looking at alternatives for police carrying guns, identifying and decriminalizing petty crimes that disproportionately impact Black and Brown residents, look more into community policing model that's in other parts of our country as well in other parts of the world. There is an interest in looking at youth of color. How can we get them involved in this process, this task force? And finally, there is one suggestion of looking at how to support law enforcement personnel experiencing social, emotional challenges a little bit beyond what we find in the traditional employee assistance program, just considering what we're seeing nationally as well as locally. How do we support law enforcement as well as the morale issue that may be impacting the Montgomery County Police Department during this climate. So in reviewing these additional topics, we, being the chairs and myself, see these opportunities to incorporate them within our existing framework. So we will begin that work. Each of you will be assigned to a subcommittee based on your preference, and you may expect to hear from either the chairs or me within the upcoming days. We are looking at finalizing that by next week. Once the subcommittees are formed, you will have the flexibility of organizing your work, which will include scheduling meetings in between when we have our large task force meetings, which will be held on a monthly basis. It looks like towards the end of the month, the third or the fourth week of each month. You will also be able to request additional information and data from the county. You will also have the ability of conducting additional research as well as bringing in subject matter experts to help inform the work of your subcommittee. Although we don't have a lot of time when we meet fully as a large group, our expectation is when you have your smaller subcommittees, you'll have an opportunity for more deeper and organic discussions. Other things that are happening within the next month, we anticipate finalizing a contract with a consultant who will conduct an audit of the police department, as well as supporting the work of this task force. Managing a group of 80 plus and however many subgroups that we end up with is quite extensive, and we realize we need support in that area. Due to the breadth of the police audit, we understanding that it's comprehensive top to bottom audit, that it usually takes anywhere from 12 to 18 months to complete. For our project, our consultant is committed to providing us preliminary findings and recommendations by the spring of 2021. Your work is critical. Your recommendations are due in January, by the middle of January. Those recommendations will help advise the county on community needs and how we may rebalance spending priorities and invest more in communities as we reimagine public safety while working toward making the county more equitable. Public safety is not only a police issue. Yes, we will spend a lot of time looking at the police department, but we will also look at programs that have been implemented elsewhere to address issues such as mental illness, substance abuse, poverty, and homelessness. The recommendations that you develop will help the county executive in crafting next year's budget, which is why we have such an ambitious and aggressive schedule of having those recommendations by the middle of January. But we will monitor the work, and if accommodations are needed, we will be open to that. The recommendations that will help go into prioritizing the next year's budget will basically focus on aligning with community needs, including those that may require additional resources to education, housing, employment, healthcare, social and emotional supports, and other public benefits. Remember in our last call that we had with the county executive, he is committed to ensuring that in his next year's budget that he finds the money to help address these issues. With that being said, that completes my overview of what our next steps are. Before I transition into wrapping up, I see it is 7:24, so we still have 6 minutes left. I know Reggie just turned on his camera. Thank you, Reggie. Reggie's going to help in scrolling through the chat box to see if there are any final questions that I may address before we wrap up today's call.
No questions as of yet. I do see a statement by Mr. Scott Schneider. He asked that we consider creating a subgroup to look at police culture.
Okay. Okay. Very good.
No questions. Yeah.
No questions. Mm-hmm. And no hands raised. Okay. Well, once again, really, truly thank everyone for your participation tonight. We do have our work cut out ahead. I really look forward to working with you in the upcoming months. As I stated earlier, I know there's so much material, we could not cover it all. Please continue to reach out by email, and we will respond to those. So before I, bid everyone a good night, just want to see if there are any closing remarks from the chairs.
Oh, thank you. I'll just go ahead briefly. As Caroline mentioned, we do have our work cut out for us, and I think from my understanding, what everyone has talked about tonight, general consensus is getting more data to focus on how do we achieve racial equity and recidivism. How do we produce these proposals where we're not allowing people to get recycled into the system, which does nothing to promote public safety and has no correlation to reimagining public safety. So I think all of the presenters tonight, I thank you for keeping it under 5 minutes because it's a lot of information. And I thank everybody in the chat for being passionate about the issues. And I just hope that we continue to have constructive conversations to help us get towards meeting the January deadline.
Let me just add too, I think we do have a lot of moving parts here, and we need to keep them moving in the right direction and coordinated and all that, but I think we're doing a good job on that. And just looking at all the questions and comments that have come up, to my mind, these are all exactly the right questions that we want to be asking and get some answers to, and that will help to frame our recommendations for how to move forward in a hopefully constructive way that makes sense for everyone involved. So I think we're doing very well so far.
All right. So thank you to the chairs. Really appreciate your service and helping to lead the work ahead. I look forward to continue working with you as well as working with everyone on the task force. So thanks everyone once again for your participation. Want to wish you a great evening as well as staying safe. Thanks everyone and have a good night.
Everybody.
Take care.
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Will Jawando stopped in to recognize Verilyn during this Black Business Month for the work she is doing to serve her community.
This is awesome. I mean, one, the smell is amazing, the atmosphere is amazing. And with Verilyn not only being a woman, but an African-American woman business owner, it's just really heartening. Here we are in Gaithersburg, one of the top 4 most diverse cities in the country. And you have one shop that she's opened for 4 years very successfully. She's looking to expand her business. And this is really providing an opportunity to students,